Hi, and welcome to the Art of Shame-Free Living podcast. Before we get into it today, I want to remind you of the amazing women's retreat that I'm running this year. One in April, one in September. April is 22nd to the 25th, and we would love to have you there. So go check it out at coachcrystal.ca/manifest-me-retreat. There also should be a link somewhere if you're listening or watching this, so you can go check that out. Or you can also message me on Instagram if you have more questions about it. So today I want to talk about chores. Back when I was doing parenting coaching, people would ask me this question a lot, like, what do you do about chores? Do you have chore charts, stickers? What do you do? Because if you know anything about the past podcast that I had, the Parenting Coach podcast, it was very connection-based, developmental-based, attachment-based, and it was like anti-behaviorism. So there wasn't rewards, there wasn't punishments, there wasn't sticker charts. And so oftentimes that's kind of when we resort to it, when we're like, we really got to get our kids to do their chores. So here is where we'll kind of bring some of these behavioristic principles, because how else could we possibly teach our children to be responsible citizens? And if not, everything will be on us. This is one area where like we need to do these principles. So I didn't have a lot to say about chores in the past because like I wasn't really sure why they were working for us. I wasn't sure what was working for us. But the other day, chores came up and I just thought, oh, this actually would be a really good episode because I think we do them pretty differently. And so I'm going to talk about that. It was a post that I was actually thinking about that gave me this idea when I was thinking about sharing it on social media, how I get my kids to say yes to keeping a clean house without regular chores. That's kind of what I titled it because I was like, they really are like say yes type kids. Like they're pretty comfortable. They'll say yes often. And when they say no, that's okay too. And I'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, number one, minimalism. So this might not seem connected, but it is. Less stuff means less cleaning. So I guess it does feel very connected. Less stuff feels less cleaning. Circa 2015, I found minimalism. Wasn't very popular at the time. I felt like I was really drowning in housework. All the laundry, dishes, and toys seemed constant. It felt like I was either buying things, fixing things, cleaning up things, or yelling at my kids to clean up their things. And it really started to get in the way of relationship. And I am a very relationship-focused person. If you don't already know that, you know now. Relationship is one of my very favorite things that matters most to me in life. And so I already knew this about myself and I knew this is not how I want to be. I don't want to just be interacting with my kids by yelling at them to clean up their chores all day. And I don't want to be spending all my day cleaning either. I also want to have some fun. And it felt very heavy to me. And so I knew immediately that that was really impacting my relationships. It was keeping in the way of like who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up as a parent. And also what I wanted our lifestyle to be like. And I knew that mess was keeping me from that. And so minimalism felt like an amazing option. And so I started with just our clothes and I was a little bit nervous about it because like you really do pare down a lot. Like you're looking at your clothes and you're not thinking like, what do I want to get rid of? You think, what do I want to keep? And you only keep that. So when I first started, I actually took like these big garbage bags and I would fill them up with all of the stuff that I plan on getting rid of because I was like, but what if I change my mind? I did that with my clothes and then I did that with the kids' clothes. And after 6 months of never opening them, I was like, I think we're okay. This was a long and slow journey, by the way. My minimalism journey was not just like overnight. But over time, I started to notice what pieces of furniture could I get rid of? What if I did this with toys? What if I did this with all of the items in our kitchen? What if we got rid of this and that? And over time, minimalism became more of just who we were. We spent way less time shopping. It just wasn't something that we just did for fun, for no reason. We spent a lot more time just together and at home, and we spent less time cleaning. One that was interesting to me is that we also did way less laundry. And I don't know if it's just because before my kids would maybe change their clothes often throughout the day, and just every time they change their clothes, they'd throw it into the laundry bin. And so when they had less stuff to change into, they really only changed if it needed to be changed. If it was like legitimately dirty or smelly, then they'd put it in there. And if not, they wouldn't. But laundry went down from, I would say like 6 to 8 loads a day, 6 to 8 loads a week. Sorry, not a day. That would be a lot of laundry. Down to 2 to 3 loads a week. Oftentimes it's only 1 to 2, and occasionally it'll be like up to 3. But everybody has 1 or 2 of one thing. Like one example that I'll give you is towels. Like we just don't have extra towels. We don't have a lot of extra sheets. If we wash our sheets, we're washing them and then we're putting them back on the same day. We might have 1 extra pair, but like not very much at all. And same with towels. We have a couple extra towels for if guests come, but beyond that, we each just have 1 towel and we know what color our towel is, and that's the towel that we use. So way, way less laundry, way less dishes. The dishwasher runs like once every 2 days or so. It used to run at least once a day. And I think, I'm not sure exactly how this ended up happening, but I think like decreasing just the amount of stuff helped people realize maybe the reusing principle, right? If you don't only have so many cups, you're going to use the same cup throughout the day instead of using 5 cups a day. So over time, this really changed things. That was probably one of the number one things. And that directly impacted our chores, is that like our house altogether was just cleaner. So we didn't have so many chores that felt like they needed to be doled out among the family. We tried loads of chore charts, by the way, and chore zones and different ways of doing it and all the things that everybody tries. And it never felt good. It always felt like we were arguing about it. It always felt like a fight. And I didn't want that. So another thing, I stopped telling the kids what to do and I asked them what they wanted to do. So for instance, I started asking my son, I've asked you to do dishes or to wash the counters or whatever, and it always ends up in a fight. And I just don't want it to end up in a fight. So tell me more about what's going on. And at this time he was little and he was just explaining, he just hated the feeling of that. Like he hated the feeling of the water. He hated the feeling of the cloth. There was just things that he just could not handle. And he's a pretty sensitive to textures kid. And so I totally understood that. And so I was like, well, what would you want to do? And he was like, I actually really like babysitting. That's easy. Like I like watching the kids when you guys go out. And I was like, man, I would love for you to have that job. Like I would much rather you pick that one than I'll wipe the table, every day after our meals and you watch the kids whenever we want to leave. And we've done that and it's been great and he's good at it and it seems to work really well for everybody. Even the little ones, I can ask them what they want to do, like what they enjoy, where they want to clean. And so we'll usually have some time like every week or two where I'm like, okay, the house really needed to be straightened and everybody will pick a floor or pick an area and we'll all work on it together. It also works really well to talk with their friends' help. And so before their friends leave, 10 or 15 minutes before they go, I'm like, okay, time to clean. And we all get up and start cleaning. And I think their kids even just know now, okay, if we're playing over there, like that's what we're going to have to do. And that works really well too. I do have them keep their rooms clean pretty regularly. It's something that I do with them. Going into this kind of next thing, they have a few things that they do every morning. Each of them has time to do scriptures or prayers or reading books if they want to read a book, and they have their bed in their room. And so there's a little rhythm or routine, I guess they have. And everybody does that differently. Not everybody does all of those things, depending on the age and stages that they're at and what they want to do. But as far as their bed in their room, it's something that we just expect will be done before we do other things. And so if they're like, hey, can I go play with a friend? I'm like, did we do this? If not, let's go do this. And then we'll go play with our friend. I really don't make a big deal about it. And also, I'm not very strict with it. One of my favorite quotes was firm boundaries loosely held. So if a friend comes by and wants to pick them up on the way to like go get a pop shop or go to the movies and it's like last minute and they're like, hey, we want to go do this thing. I'm not like, wow, you didn't do your room, so you don't get to go. I really, really don't try to be strict about it because I don't want it to be something that's like a burden. I want us to all feel good about it. So I'm much more relaxed, much more lenient about it. I don't think that having clothes on their floor means that now you don't get to go play with your friends. I just don't think about it in that way. I think our room is our responsibility. We want it to stay clean. We want it to be clean because it helps us create more space in our mind and in our heart. Like, how does it feel to have a clean room versus how does it feel to have a messy room? And it's something I'm really trying to teach them and ingrain in them, not force them just to do on principle. Another part that's really important within this is that we really help them. And maybe help them like an inordinate amount, but we really do. When one of our kids was younger, I was reading about ADHD and it used making the bed as an example. And it said that it was common for young ADHD kids to feel like there's a lot of different parts of that. They don't just think like, oh, I have to make my bed. It's I move the blanket this way. I have to do this with the pillow. I have to do this with the sheet. Like they look at it like there's 20 different steps and it feels like a lot to them. So I think one of my kiddos was like 9 when I was listening to this. And I was like, oh, that's actually true. Like it makes sense that it would be a little overwhelming for them. And so then even though it seemed like a simple thing that they quote unquote should be able to do at that age, I would just help every time. And help looked like mostly I was doing it. They were there still doing it too, but I did a lot of it. And over the years, they were able to do it better and better and better, and they understood more. But it kind of goes along the same principle of don't hold your baby too much or you'll spoil them. And how we've really debunked that myth that it's actually like more love, more emotional support, more kindness, more goodness is actually better for them and their nervous system. There's no amount of too much love that we can give our kids. And I think that when it comes to support too, there's no amount when they're growing up in our home of too much support to give them. The more support we give them, the more confident, the more strong, the more self-reliant they'll actually be. And I think that's true. I think that a lot of people would argue that statement, but I believe that the more support and help that we can give them, the more they'll be independent on their own. And that has been true in our house too. 2 more. So one is like big and little projects. So sometimes we'll have little projects that we're doing together and we just try to make it fun and easy and just focus on connecting. But also big projects will take on like a whole house remodel. Like we'll take on a whole landscaping project, landscape the whole backyard. Like we've done a lot of huge projects and the kids get really pumped. They get really excited for it. We do too. It's like this big thing that we all get to do together. And that's a really great opportunity for them to see the value of hard work. that hard work can be fun, that it can be enjoyable, that we get to produce this really amazing thing that we all feel so good about and that we all get to enjoy, but that there's a season for that. We don't need to be work, work, work all day, all day, all day, every day, every day, every day. We rest really well. And we're great examples of resting really well and having a lot of fun and having a lot of adventure really well too. That we don't just have to be strict and determined and committed and hardworking like all day, every day, that it can be fun and that it can be a seasonal thing. And that's really helped me to see too, like my kids are really hard workers. They work really hard. And even if that doesn't mean every day they have a family chore that they do, they're hard workers. Last thing is house cleaning. If you can, if you're in the position where you can, get some help in cleaning your house. For me, it's been really helpful to have a house cleaner. And I think sometimes we think like we have to do it on our own. I can't reach out for support. Like it's better to do it on your own. I think we have this idea, I think especially in North America, this individualistic, like I will do it on my own. It's stronger if I can do everything. I don't actually think it's stronger if you can do everything. I think that leaning to other people and letting them help you is a really beautiful thing. And this is a way that it can be. I came home one day and I remember we had a tutor that was helping one kid. We had another lady that was like cleaning the house and somebody else had come to do something else. I think a massage or something like that. And I remember thinking like, this feels abundant, and not just like in the abundance of wealth, but it felt abundant in like connection and love. What is moving through me and helping others is helping others too. Like we were all having fun. We were all chatting. And it felt like what was good for me was good for the world, which is one of the manifestation principles that I love, is what's good for me is good for the world. And so I just ask yourself truly, am I letting myself be supported in the ways that I want to be supported? And is there other areas I want to be supported in? I have been very creative in this. I don't enjoy just like always doing the cooking and cleaning and groceries and all of that doldrum stuff. Sometimes I enjoy it and lots of times I don't. And so you can find people to do the things that you don't love so that you can do what you love. And you can be creative with that. So maybe there's some things within housework that you really love, like great, do that and find somebody else to do something else. But we can delegate that too. And I think that we don't have to always be putting it on our kids. But I will circle back to minimalism in that having less stuff makes a big difference. Because I remember lots of times when I was younger feeling really overwhelmed with the amount of things that there were and the stuff that there were and the housework that there was to do and spending hours doing housework. And I love that we get to live a different way now and that we've changed and we've grown. And hopefully my kids feel that too. I know that I definitely feel it. So there's a little longer episode than I was planning, but there you go. There's some tips on chores and how we do it in our house. I guess how we don't do it in our house and how I feel like it's still really teaching my kids to be great hard workers, to see the value in work, and for not everything to be on my shoulders either. It doesn't feel like burdensome. It feels like we're all collaborative and working together. And that's all I have to say about chores. Quick reminder about the retreat, April 22nd to the 25th. Check it out at the link, coachcrystal.ca/manifest-me-retreat. And we will see you next week. Thanks for being here.